and I'll be joined by 7 subject matter experts from the community tonight to present information to Colonel Walters and to the audience at large. Sergeant Oxley, thank you, sir. So we read the programmatic environmental assessment. We analyzed it in detail, and we noted specifically stated in there that stationing locations considered must have or be able to build housing and living space, schools, medical facilities, support the recreational opportunities for soldiers and their families. And those are the things that, in fact, we want to talk to you tonight, specifically outside the fence line, as 75% of Florida soldiers and their families do, in fact, live within the communities of Central Texas, 98% of them within 10 miles of the flagpole of Fort Hood. I'll begin with a brief regional overview and background, and then we'll be followed by each of the subject matter experts so that you get a flavor and feel for what goes on outside the fence lines. Next chart. So when we talk about Central Texas, we talk about our metropolitan statistical area. It's Bell, Coryell, and Lampasas counties, as represented on the chart. There are 7 major cities in those 3 counties, a population of about 420,000 based upon the census estimate of 2012, about a 3,600 square mile area. We in the Heart of Texas Defense Alliance are funded by the municipal entities of those counties and cities to be the advocate for the defense industry in Central Texas, and obviously Fort Hood is the biggest one of those. Next chart. And just how big this chart, in fact, gives us to you, and I have provided some information from the Comptroller's Office on economic impact analysis if you want to take that back. But in December of last year, the State Comptroller, Public Counsel, Chief Financial Officer of the state of Texas, did an economic impact assessment of Fort Hood and determined that the statewide GDP impact of Fort Hood is $25.3 billion a year, billion with a B. That's based upon, at that time, about 47,000 soldiers and about 7,000 Department of the Army civilian employees. But the Comptroller noted in her analysis that Fort Hood also was responsible for the creation statewide of about 215,000 indirect jobs as well. In the programmatic environmental assessment, 2 alternatives. Alternative 1 is a loss of up to 8,000 soldiers. And we've boiled down these numbers a little bit to be able to give you a flavor and feel for that. That would be 1 Armored Brigade combat team and about 30% of the non-DCT soldiers and 15% of the Department of the Army civilians. That would represent about 15% of the total assigned strength at Fort Hood, both soldier and civilian. And our estimates are that if Alternative 1 were to be implemented, it would be almost a $4 billion a year annual impact statewide on the state economy. For comparison purposes, just so that you get a flavor for what $4 billion looks like, in 2010, the entire Texas State Lottery only generated $3.7 billion in revenue, so we're talking bigger than that. Burlington Coat Factories, that's bigger than their nationwide annual revenues, and we're about twice the annual revenues of the AMC movie theater chains across the United States. We're talking big bucks here, and I just wanted to make sure that you understood that. In terms of local economy, what the impact would be on the region, we estimate that would be about a $2.5 billion annual economic impact. So we wanted to ensure that under Alternative 1, you understood the specific economic impact of that. As we mentioned at the very beginning, it's extremely important that we provide you with input outside the fence lines. Fort is a very capable installation, but it's supported by very capable communities as well. And what we'd like to do is to walk you through some of these considerations outside the fence line that we don't think were necessarily covered in depth and detail in the programmatic environmental assessment. And it's tremendously important that we provide that information to you tonight. So our first presenter will be Colonel Retired Dr. Don Daniels. He is the Chief Medical Officer at Carl R. Darnell Army Medical Center, and I've got their names in your program there so that you can take a look at that. So Colonel Daniels, please.